Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hivemind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left, the disingenuous Democrats, and of course, by extension, by virtue, the disingenuous media. Absolute liars. Now, of course, we don't like CNN here. I think that's pretty much unanimous. It's a network full of phony political Democrat hacks who masquerade as journalists. They are anything but. But one thing that I despise more are the networks or the people who work at some of these networks who pretend to be unbiased, neutral, journalists of integrity. Chris Wallace immediately comes to mind. The suit and tie, clean cut, a very calm and seemingly rational demeanor who project neutrality but in reality are anything but. And this is where we get into 60 Minutes. They pretend to come from a non-biased perspective, but really, they're snakes in the grass. But really, they're total trash. And they prove it once again. As Democrat cities and Democrat states are failing when it comes to the COOF pandemic, what does 60 Minutes do? Well, they can't have a Republican winning the day because a Republican is literally winning the day. Two Republicans, in fact, Ron DeSantis and Governor Greg Abbott from the two great states of Florida and Texas. They cannot have that. So instead of talking about Andrew Cuomo, Gretchen Whitmer, Gavin Newsom, whatever zero name recognition politicians inhabit the state of Pennsylvania, I don't know most of their names. Instead of doing that, they launch a total hit piece smear against Ron DeSantis and his COOF vaccine rollout using the private sector. Well, surprise, surprise, surprise to no one, they're liars, they're lying, and they're working for the Democrat Party. Let me show you guys exactly what I mean. It's absolutely egregious. It's frankly disgusting. We got a lot to get into, but before we do, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We're still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. And with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so how do I know that 60 Minutes is really just an extension of Democrat propaganda? Well, it's very simple. One telltale sign: everything Republicans do is racist. Everything we disagree with, everything that makes a Democrat look bad and a Republican look good, stems from some sort of bigotry or racism. That's the argument that they're implying. Only a Democrat would ever do that, and you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. So in terms of the COOF pandemic, Ron DeSantis is doing quite well in the state of Florida. It's an elderly state that has about the same death rate as the state of California, with very restrictive measures. So anybody who's looking at this honestly, Ron DeSantis across the board should be getting praise. He should be getting favorable coverage. Instead, we get this hit piece right over here after Ron DeSantis took a victory lap with his strategy with using the private sector to roll out vaccine distribution instead of big brother, big government.
So why did the governor choose Publix? Campaign finance reports obtained by 60 Minutes show that weeks before the governor's announcement, Publix donated $100,000 to his political action committee, Friends of Ron DeSantis. Julie Jenkins Fancelli, heiress to the Publix fortune, has given $55,000 to the governor's PAC in the past, and in November, Fancelli's brother-in-law, Hoyt R. Barnett, a retired Publix executive, donated $25,000. I imagine Governor DeSantis' office would say, look, we privatized the rollout because it's more efficient and it works better.
It hasn't worked better for people of color. Before, I could call the public health director and she would answer my calls. But now, if I want to get my constituents information about how to get this vaccine, I have to call a lobbyist from Publix. That makes no sense. They're not accountable to the public.
This piece right over here is exactly what I'm talking about. This is the type of snake journalism that drives me crazy. They're coming at this from what seems like an honest perspective, but it's so filled with BS to the point where it's mind-numbing. It's frustrating. The first disingenuous thing that they say is that 60 Minutes obtained this information. Campaign public records. Ron DeSantis got donations from Publix. That's public. You can literally go find that whenever you want. They didn't obtain the information. They literally just found it in public documentation. You might not catch that one because the way they present it is as if they're being totally honest and neutral and fair. But that is a serious lie. That's calculated to make you feel a certain way. Yes, Ron DeSantis is working with Publix. And yes, Publix and individuals who are associated with Publix have the free will themselves to donate to his campaign if they support him, and they're also working with him to save the lives of thousands upon thousands of Floridians by working to combat the COOF pandemic. Somehow, 60 Minutes is trying to portray this as if it's evil, corrupt Washington politics. In the pocket of the private sector, Ron DeSantis is a corrupt Republican who's bought and paid for by Publix. No, Ron DeSantis is a capitalist who believes in the free market and the private sector solving complex issues. news, something that he's literally proof of. That's the first little one. The second one is the interview where they make it seem as if Publix is somehow favoring the rich and of course white people with vaccine rollouts, based on absolutely no evidence whatsoever. In fact, it's so disconnected from reality it's not even funny. The complaint that the Floridian politician made there was that he has to call a lobbyist. And what he means is he has to call somebody who works for Publix and work with the private sector instead of big government bureaucracy to roll out the vaccine for his constituents. But see, that's the thing. That's a politician complaining that he's not in charge and he's not in power. He doesn't have to roll out anything because anyone can just go to Publix and get the vaccine. Once again, Democrats crying racism, pretending as if it's Ron DeSantis' fault. It's the Republicans' fault that minority communities, specifically African Americans, are not getting the vaccine. There is a culture within the community, a certain mindset that actually SNL just did a skit on where they don't take it off their own volition. And it's so disingenuous at such a high degree. When you just do a little bit of research, they're claiming that Publix is not available to the minority community, and therefore the Publix vaccine distribution is favoring towards the wealthy and white class. I ask myself, is that true? Of course it isn't. It's so untrue with, once again, just a little Google search. That's all you gotta do. I wrote in Publix, Florida locations into Google. Check out this map right over here with over 800 locations in the state alone, all over every inhabited area of the entire state. But I'm sure this is just Jim Crow on steroids and it's unavailable in minority communities. It's not. If you want the vaccine, go get it. Just go to Publix. But of course, Democrats are gonna cry this is what? Jim Crow on steroids vaccine suppression? I mean, geez, it's gotta stop. It's seriously gotta stop. These Democrat liars, disingenuous Democrats, calling everything the other side does racist. There's always a slanderous element to the claims that they make. Every single time, almost without question at this point. It's a tactic. Just like Al Sharpton said, we're gonna pressure senators by saying if they don't vote for HR 1, and they're racist, and they're supporting Jim Crow relics. I absolutely despise liars. And in the modern day of politics, regardless of where you stand on the political spectrum, whether you're center, center left, center right, if you have that one element in common with me where you just cannot stand liars, it makes it impossible to be on the Democrat side of any issue because of the constant lies over and over and over again. Not attacking any of these issues from rational points of discussion, but from points of emotion and emotional manipulation and slander. And once again, speaking of Republicans winning the day, as we said, time will tell, and statements that didn't age well.
And the last thing we need is the Neanderthal thinking.
The Neanderthal thinking in Texas. Gavin Newsom, failed leader Gavin Newsom. The rest of the Democrats claiming Texas is irresponsible. They don't care about people's lives. Well, turns out Texas COOF cases plummet after mask mandate has been lifted. Look at the chart. The chart doesn't lie. This is what I say when I say Republicans are winning the day. They've lifted restrictions. They've opened business, and their states are thriving for it, not only from a health perspective, but from a financial perspective as well, from a tax perspective, just in general. They're doing better. And we still can't even have an open discussion about these types of policies. It's politically incorrect to even hint at the possibility that, hey, maybe the Democrats have absolutely no idea what they're doing. It's not even a discussion that we can have. And of course, as you see from that segment, the media definitely doesn't want to have that discussion whatsoever. They'd rather focus on BS hit pieces and push slanderous, partisan Democrat propaganda. And that segment right over there pretty much proves it. That's the video that I got for you guys on this one. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We're still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. Now I gotta get back to work. I want to thank you for watching though, and I'll see you on the next one.